Our top focus on WION right now. We continue to get you the latest on the battlefield between Russia and Ukraine. In the latest, a massive Russian drone strike targeted Ukraine's Kharkiv, hitting civilian infrastructure and residential areas. And this as Moscow and Kiev trade blame for strikes endangering the truce efforts that were secured in Riyadh. At least 4 fires broke out after the drone strike in Kharkiv, with the largest one engulfing an industrial building. Initial reports indicated that at least 9 people were injured, though the toll may rise. Emergency services, including firefighters, police, medics and utility crew, rushed to the scene, working to contain the damage and also help the victims. And all this as U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that the United States will examine Russia's requested conditions for agreements with Ukraine, but cautioned that a peace deal would take time.
The goal is to end a war where people are dying, and I think everyone should be happy that the United States is engaged in a process of ending a war and bringing about peace. It's not going to be easy, it won't be simple, it'll take some time, but at least we're on that road and we're talking about these things, and we're going to test it and see what's possible.
Russia and Ukraine agreed in parallel separate talks with U.S. envoys in Saudi Arabia to halt strikes in the Black Sea. But the Kremlin has said that a revival of the Black Sea deal was subject to a number of conditions and that Russia was discussing sanctions relief from the United States. However, Marco Rubio said that some of these sanctions belong to the European Union and not the U.S.
So we're going to evaluate that. Some of those conditions include sanctions that are not ours. They belong to the European Union. So we're going to be gathering and sort of, when our folks get back, sitting down, going through the proposals, getting their impressions of the conversations so we can more fully understand what the Russian position is or what their ask is in exchange.
On the other hand, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed hopes that the U.S. has enough power to press Russia into an unconditional ceasefire. At a joint press conference with French President Emmanuel Macron in Paris, Zelensky said sanctions against Russia should remain in place and rather should be strengthened.
Let's hope and believe that the U.S. has enough power to press Russian President Vladimir Putin into an unconditional ceasefire. Sanctions against Russia should remain in place and strengthen as long as the Russian occupation continues.
French President Emmanuel Macron renewed the call on Russia to accept a 30-day ceasefire without conditions and said it was too early to consider lifting sanctions on Russia. He warned that Russia was still showing a desire for war despite efforts to forge a ceasefire.
In Jeddah, on March 11th, Ukraine clearly expressed its agreement to the United States for a complete ceasefire without preconditions for a period of 30 days, even though it is the one being victimized by aggression. We expect the same commitment from Russia.
Macron spoke ahead of a summit in Paris today that will discuss the proposed European armed force for Ukraine. The French president suggested that they could be deployed in important towns and elsewhere to respond to a Russian attack. Macron also announced a new French €2 billion military aid package for Ukraine.
Three is a very clear indication that if there were to be widespread aggression again on Ukrainian soil, these armies would in fact be attacked. And then there is the framework of engagement that is still ours. We have soldiers who, when they commit themselves and are deployed, are there to react and respond to the decisions of the head of the armed forces. And if they are in a conflict situation, to respond.
Agression généralisée à nouveau contre le sol ukrainien